Well, serious? Again, is it illegal, Kimberly? This whole dossier has caused so much debate. But again, let's focus on whether the charges we heard there.
Yeah, I think there is a tremendous abuse of power here, and especially, can you imagine someone who takes an oath to, uphold the law and is supposed to do a fair and impartial investigation? Nevertheless, he proffered a document that he knew was largely uncorroborated, that was paid for by the Clinton campaign and by an individual that put it together, that had really no substantial basis in fact, credibility whatsoever. And James Comey made the decision to put that in front of a court, of a judge, and obtain a FISA warrant to then do surveillance on the Trump campaign and on the building, suggesting that perhaps there was some kind of Russian collusion. Who does that as the head of the FBI? I think this is one of the more egregious examples of his abuse of power and the fact that he wanted a specific intended outcome.
And does it meet the legal threshold for committing a crime?
Oh, absolutely. Major fraud, conspiracy, obstruction by deceiving a federal judge, abuse of power, all of these are crimes, because what you're really doing is you're deceiving a judge and you're concealing material evidence. The only reference to who paid for the dossier is buried in a footnote, and it is so opaque you can't tell what it really means. That's deception. That's lying to a judge. That's a crime.
That sounds pretty cut and dried.
Well, let's take it out of the FISA court, because I'm unaware.
Take what out of the FISA?
Let's take the question about submitting false information, because this is department lawyers and prosecutors. Like all lawyers, we look to precedent. We look to cases that we've investigated and prosecuted before. And I'm unaware, again, having done this a long, long time, I'm unaware of any prosecution in the FISA court context. Now, much better to look at it in terms of what Ron does every day, which is defend and file these kind of motions in state and federal court. Officers all the time submit affidavits and search warrant applications to judges, state and federal. And defense lawyers all the time challenge those based on both omissions and false or reckless information. And again, it's a process whereby the motions are filed, there's a hearing, and the sides testify under oath and it's challenged.
But this is a secret court.
I was going to say, I'd like
There's no defense there to present the other side.
Well, 1 second here, because yes, it is. The way they got the warrant was a secret court. However, we know that now people have been charged, and one is defending Manafort. And so he has the opportunity, when the time comes, if any information gleaned from any of these search warrants came from any affidavit that referenced the dossier, which I hate calling it the dossier, but that's what everybody's calling it, so we'll call it the dossier, to challenge the contents of that warrant and traverse the warrant, squash the warrant, whatever he wants to do, and those facts will come out. But see, we're talking about a lot of facts that, frankly, I think people know a little about, but don't know a lot about, because I will guarantee you the affidavit, the person who signed the affidavit to say, please authorize the search warrant, was not James Comey. I'll guarantee his name's on it because he was head of the FBI, and he's...
Well, doesn't he therefore have some legal responsibility?
Well, according to the Intelligence Committee of the House, it was Comey who signed it.
No.
Sally Yates signed one of them. Rod Rosenstein signed one of them. Okay, so they're vouching for the authenticity of these documents.
You're conflating a couple of issues here. The way it works, the way an affidavit works, is an officer has to say, Officer X went to, or FBI agent X says, hey, I went out here, I obtained this information, ABC, this is why I believe this crime has been committed. And then it goes to Comey and he says, okay, based on your affidavit, I'm going to sign off on it. Go ahead and submit it to the court. It has to go through a U.S. attorney, Rothstein. He says, okay, based on what I see in here, I'll sign off on it. Then it goes to the court. So the person swearing under penalty of perjury is not James Comey.
Okay, well, let's leave it like that. Maybe hang on a second. It's not just Comey, it's a whole bunch of them.
Well, of course it is, absolutely, in various steps. But the facts are that James Comey is one of the people, one of the individuals you just stated yourself that in fact had to put this forward and proffer it to say, let's get the information.
All right, sorry, Ron, we can have to leave it there. I'm really sorry. We're out of time on that. I know. I'm sorry. Are you going to win the case? If we had more time, you'd win. I know.